Okay, so MVC is a design pattern. Okay, we learn about different design patterns, right, in the sixth semester, right, and some of the design patterns already we are using, right, but as we use frameworks, some of the design patterns are now inbuilt as a part of conventions. So one of such design pattern is MVC, Model View Controller. And normally, when we create an application, our application has three layers. The data access layer, right, where all our logic pertaining to our data access is written, right? For example, our classes, our way of accessing database, right? And manipulating the database and its table. Then the other layer is business logic layer, where the code, right, related to our application, right, or say responding to users business request is written. So that is business logic layer. And the one layer which is concerned with the rendering the output to the user or providing the user interface to the user is the user interface layer. And normally in the user interface layer, the MVC is there. Okay, and that means, say, when you will actually go into the product development, right, your applications will have, for example, applications will have three layers, means it may have three folders. One folder is DAL, data access layer. Another folder is your BL, business logic layer, or BLL, right? And the third folder is your UI, user interface. And within that you will have your controller, your models, your views, etc. Right? So this MVC is related with user interface layer, that how the output will be rendered to the user, right? Okay, so that is the responsibility of MVC. But as we are studying here, right, when we will be studying, right, we will see that the view is responsible for user interface. The controller is responsible for the business logic layer, and the model is responsible for data access layer. In that very shallow perspective, we will learn this. So when we are learning this MVC in .NET Core, or if you learn in say some other way, for example, probably in Python, Django, it is MVP, right? And in say PHP Laravel, it is again MVC, right? So in a narrow context, it is always same, that model means your data, view means your user interface, and controller means your business logic layer. But that's a very shallow view. Okay, in actual view, in the actual perspective, if you see, right, then MVC is only just a part of a user interface layer. Okay, and why do we do that? So that everything has a loose coupling. They all are very independent component. Okay, and what is the advantage of it? When something is independent, right, it is, if it is developed independently, that means it can be tested independently, right? And that's how, right, your application is more, say, you can say the actual terminology that I want to use is fault tolerant. Your application is more fault tolerant because it has no connection with the other component, right? So whenever you are changing one component, it will not have any impact on other components at all, right? So testing, configurations, changing, everything becomes smooth, right? So that's the idea of MVC, and it is only used in user interface layer in actual scenario, right? So I advise you that some of the tutorials are available over the internet, right? There it will explain you that how the data access layer is different, how the business logic layer is different, how the UI layer is different, and within that how you configure MVC. Right? For us, it is very difficult to do that, right? Because we are just starting to learn MVC. If really time permits, definitely we'll include one such applications. Yeah, otherwise you will find many applications. Even some of the tutorials are available. They will be definitely lengthy, at least of 1 hour and more. There they will develop a very small project demonstrating the use of each layer. And then here, these would be a 3-tier application. Right? And applications could be, earlier it was very simple. Right? Then we had client server application. It is 2-tier applications. Then came these kind of a 3-tier applications. Now in today's time, if you see these say services which are coming, right? Microservices, right? They can be compressed in an entire applications because each service will have its own tier, right? They will its own business logic, own database or application, and then it will stack upon it, right? So an application can be divided in n tiers as well, but right now our focus is on 3-tier applications, right? And here I'm mentioning about that MVC is in the user interface layer, but when we will start developing applications, we will not treat it as, right? We will treat view as a user interface, model as a data access, and controller as a business logic layer, right? So why I'm suggesting you that, for example, say what you will do, you will put your project on the GitHub, right? And then in your resume, you will have a reference of it. Interviewer will ask you, okay, show me your project. She will show it. As soon as he will see the structure or she will see the structure, they may ask you, right, what is the application hierarchy of your project, right? Now, if you will see that you have a business logic, you have a data access layer, then in their sense, you would be incorrect because you are simply using MVC, the model folder, view folder, controller folder. You don't have a separate layer or folder for business logic. Or in the business sense, the business logic is a different project. Data access layer is a different project, and your user interface layer is a different project. All three are a different project, which are coming together for one application. That means you have 3 .NET Core applications. For example, business logic layer, right? It would be, say, you will have some class files. So it could be simply a class library project. Similarly, data access layer, what you will have interface classes, class library project or a console applications. Right? And user interface layer, it is a web application. You know, I hope you are getting it, that for your business logic or your data access, you don't need web component. So why should you create web component? Right? Or why it should be part of web component? It shouldn't be. It could be class library, it could be console application, it could be anything. Right? For example, for data access, you need to use some of the web API. Then your data access layer could be a web API application. Right? And your user interface layer is a MVC application. That is possible. Right? So that is how separating each tier, its functionality in an independent manner facilitates in many different ways. Okay. So that is what I have discussed, right? That in the typical real world, everything is separate. Separate means either it is a separate folder in one application or it is entirely a different application. Okay, so how MVC works, right? So now we will forget about, or at least during this discussion of MVC, I'll never discuss that how it actually happens in the real world. We will see that how MVC works in our own small world. Okay, fine. So now, and that's why probably now you know that why I included this first slide, right? That don't say that your application you are going to create project, right? Right? You have all 3 applications layers. Don't say that, it is not true. So realize it is not true. Okay. Where I am, yes. Have MVC work. Say to a user, I want to render this information. Say user is requesting, user is a request, root URL /staff/1. That means user is requesting a staff details for a staff whose ID is 1, right? Root URL is root URL /staff/1 or staff (ID is equal to 1, right? And now what is displaying? So it is displaying the details of the user or a staff user has requested, right? So this is again a technical job, right? You see the name and department. This department normally doesn't have any kind of honesty, right? So this is your root URL, staff details 1. So now what I have changed? Earlier I was saying that the URL is staff/1. That means the method which was invoked from the staff controller was a default method, right? Normally it is index, but now I'm specifying that, okay, go to this root URL, go to staff controller, go to detail section method, there pass a parameter 1 and give me the information. So what is happening here? Let's see step by step. First, user will fire this URL in their own browser, and that request will be handled by the controller. So controller will check, okay, this request is for my, because it's the staff. Then it is requested for the method, which is details. So it will go to the details action method. It will see that, okay, it is for parameter ID and that value is 1. Okay. Now, these controller action method details will have a logic for accessing model classes. And the model classes will have a method get staff details. It will have a method get staff details, and in the probably it will have a parameter, say integer ID. And that where that method will be available, it will be available in the model. What model will have? Model will have what is staff and what you can do with staff. Everything will be in model. So that is your data access layer. What is staff? So staff has ID, staff has name, staff has date of birth, staff has profile picture, staff has email address. That is staff. Public class staff. Right? What staff can do? Get staff details, update staff details, delete staff, right? So this is what staff can do. Okay, so everything will be available in model. Okay, so controller action method will find that method, execute that method, then that method may require access to your data source. So it will deal with data. Once it has found the result, it has to display to or send to the user. Then it will pass the data to the view. Okay, view will have now data which it should render to the user. So view will render the UI layer to the user, or the view will be passed to the controller and controller will render it to the user. Again, end user will request, controller will identify the action method it has to execute, right? And most of the time that method will be available, or its code is available in the model class, right? Model class may interact with the data source or not, right? And then the model data is passed to the view, right? View will generate the view it has to render to the user, that will be passed to the controller, and controller will render it to the end user. Right? So that is how it works. Sometimes it is also used that view is given to the model, or sometimes it is used that model is passed to the view. Right? It depends how you program. Okay. So when we will learn about view, right, whether it is a static view, dynamic view, right, then we will learn about that in which order it is happening. Okay. Sometimes even a view can be directly passed to a client. Okay, that can also happen. Okay, for example, there is no need of controller, right? Then you can directly pass on the view as well to the client. Okay, but right now it is very complex, right? So we'll just go through a very simplistic approach. That controller is the one who will take the request, who will pass on the response. Controller will select the method available in the model class, then the model class execute that method, may require interacting with data source, identify the data it has to serve to the client as per the request. The data will be given to the view. View will prepare the output that it has to render to the user, that will be passed on to the controller. Controller will give it to the client. Okay. Right. So now let's try to understand this component one by one. Again, we will start with a very small introduction of model, view, and controller, and then again we'll have a in-depth discussion on it. Okay. So in a stepwise manner, right, we are building our concepts. So what is model? So as I said, it will describe you about your class, right? What is your data and what your data can do, right? What is your identity, right? Or here we should use the terminology entity. Entity is the right terminology in MVC. So here staff is entity, student is entity, teacher is entity, right? Department is entity. So these are known as entity. So what is this entity and what this entity can do, or what this entity is allows to do, that is model. So what is staff? ID, name, department, it has get set accessors, right? Then now we are simply not using a staff repository. We are using an interface, and then that interface implements a method that implements a class, and that class has a method like get staff, save, etc. So why we are doing this? Why we are having interface and then a class implements interface? Any idea? Okay, so the question is that suppose if we don't have this interface, we simply have this class, then also it will work, right? Whenever we need this get staff method or save method, what we will do? We will create the instance of staff repository and we will access the get staff and save. But instead of that, we have created an interface, iStaff repository. Then that interface is implemented by one class, and that class has method. So now when we want to access this method, we will create instance of interface. And through that, we will access the method of staff repository. So why are we doing this? Correct. To reuse, abstraction, and for dependency injection. Why dependency injection? Assume that, say I have one implementation while I am developing initially, I have one implementation which is mock, which is incorrect, right? Where I am simply using some list of staff, which is available in the model itself. I have a list of staff. So I have one implementation, staff mock repository or mock staff repository. It will have get staff method and save method. So just to test everything works fine. Once everything is fine, say I want to use SQL Server. So what I will do, I'll implement a class, say SQL staff repository, implementing iStaff repository. There I'll have a code of get staff and save, which will actually work with SQL Server. Right? So in my controller, wherever I want to work with staff, I'll have an instance of iStaff repository. Okay, I'll not have instance of mock staff repository or SQL staff repository. I will have instance of iStaff repository in my controller. Okay, and through that instance, I'm accessing get staff and save method of either mock staff or the SQL staff repository. Right? So where can I mention? So what I'm saying is that I have one interface and I have multiple implementation of it. One interface I have implemented in different manner. Right? And at a given time, I will require only one implementation, either a mock or the SQL server. I'll specify that in the configure services method, that someone requests iStaff repository instance, given instance of mock staff repository or a given instance of SQL staff repository. So whenever the application will start, startup class will execute, it will know that, okay, if someone is requesting iStaff repository, which instance I need to provide. I don't need to provide the instance of interface. I need to provide the instance of mock staff repository or SQL staff repository. If I specify mock staff, whenever you are creating an instance of iStaff and through that you are executing the method get staff or a save, it will be from mock staff repository. If you are providing an instance of SQL staff repository, then the instance of SQL staff repository would execute, right? So whenever you change, you don't need to make changes in the controller. You may have 50 controllers, 100 controllers. There you don't need to make change. You need to make change only at one place in the configure service method. Okay, this thing will come at least after 50 to 70 slides. But here I'm just giving you an idea. So you start thinking about it, right? That why we are using interface, so that in multiple manners we can implement it and we can use it. And later on we can inject the one implementation we want to use. Okay, so reuse, abstraction, all these things are correct. So we use staff class to hold the staff data, right? It is staff repository class that retrieves and saves data in the underlying data source. So a model is a class or a set of classes that represent data or the entity and logic to manage your data or entity. Right, now you know that why we are using interface iStaff repository, right? So it is very much useful for abstraction, reuse, and dependency injection, right? And because of that, the components would be loosely coupled and easily testable. Fine. So you know the responsibility of model. It represents the state of the application, right? In any business logic or operation that should be performed by it. Why we are saying business operations? Because get staff save is nothing but our business operation, right? So now you will have feeling that this is your business access layer. The model is, right? But here actually we are treating in that manner. Otherwise, what will happen in actual applications? In actual applications, actual implementation, this staff repository won't be in this model. It will be in your business access layer, right? From here, you will make a call to it, but actually it will be available in your business layer. But let's not worry about it right now. So model will have business logic and operation that should be performed by it. Okay. Strongly typed views typically use view model types designated to contain the data to display on that view. Strongly typed view means that your view and model are bound somehow. That means when you make changes into the model, automatically those changes will be reflected into the view. And when you make changes into the view, the changes will be reflected back to the model. Why? For validations. Okay. Okay, controller creates and populates these view model instances from the model. So it's very straightforward. And don't worry about this view model if you don't get it right now. Once we will learn about view in details, you will know it. Right. Now this is a view. Okay, and now the view will have extension .cshtml. It is the Razor View engine we are using. Okay, we will not teach you in detail this Razor View engine. Okay, so you will require approximately 20 to 30 minutes to learn this Razor View engine. Okay, it is using HTML components in Vue. Here we will not have text box, drop-down list box like we used to have in .NET Framework. Okay, so whenever you get time, just explore some tutorial on Razor View engine. You will learn it very easily. Okay, so here you can see that here we have used this @model, and then here we have this HTML code. Okay, so don't worry about anything. Right? In simple, we are using a staff model, and then we are displaying the ID, name, and department to the user in the tabular manner. Okay. So basically, this view will render this output. Okay. So it is CS HTML because in this Razor View, if you see, we have C# code as well as HTML code. Where is C# code? @model.id. It is C# code, right? @model.name. It is C# code. What is HTML? You see several elements. It is HTML. It is CS HTML. If you are implementing view in VB, then it would be VB HTML. Okay. So a view in MVC should only contain the logic to display the model data provided to it by the controller. So it is an HTML template, okay, and it will display every details which has been passed to it by model, okay. Or if it is not passed by model, then it will be static. If there is no link of model and view, then the view will be static, right? Okay, just to avoid any confusion, that here when we use staff class, you know that it is a staff model it is accessing. So when the request is for ID1, then automatically for ID1, the ID would be displayed here, the name would be displayed here, and the department would be displayed here. Right? You can see here we are not passing that. Okay, ID for name for ID1, department for ID1. It will happen automatically. Okay, so that's a strong model. So in MVC, a view is only responsible for presenting the model data. There should be no complex logic in view, right? So just to have separation of concern, right? That it should only have logic for presenting your data. Okay, view must have logic only to present data. If you are in your view, say you have some complex logic, okay, then you should use view model or view component. Now, what could be this complex logic? For example, say when the user is, say, teacher, then this view should be rendered. So when the user is student, these views should be rendered. When the user is staff, these views should be rendered. So these code should not be available in one view, because now in your view you have a complex logic, right? If the model.type is something, this is what you should display. If model.type is something, this is what you should display. Then you should not have all these things in one view. Your complex logic should be in view model or in view component, okay? And then accordingly the view should be rendered, right? So if you have any complex logic, it should not be included in the view. Why? It will make it tightly coupled, and that's what you don't want to do, okay? So again, view model, view component, we will learn very late in this course. Okay. What is the responsibility of view? Views are responsible for presenting content through the user interface. They use the Razor View engine to embed .NET code in HTML markup. Okay, and there should be minimal logic within views. Any logic in them should relate to presenting content. Okay, if you have a complex thing, view component, view model, etc., you can use. Now controller. So this is our controller. It's a class, right? We inherit from the base class controller. Okay, here you can see that we are creating an instance of iStaff repository. Okay, and we are injecting into the controller. So that is known as controller injection. Okay, these dependency injections can be carried out in many different ways, but the one we will be using is the way of controller injection. So here the dependency iStaff repository is injected into the controller. Why are we saying that dependency is injected? Because when the application will execute, when the user requests an instance of iStaff repository, we should serve the mockstaff repository or SQL staff repository. That we are not specifying here, right? That's why the dependency we are injecting over here, which will be resolved at the startup class level. Okay, and here you can see that through this instance underscore staff repository, I'm accessing the method getStaff, which is available in my model class. Okay, and this ID parameter is available. So if it is available in the URL, then it will be available over here, right? There are also different ways of binding parameters apart from URL. That we'll learn once we'll learn about parameter binding. But right now it is through URL. Okay, so it will execute the getStaff method. It will have the model instance in the staff instance, and then we will pass this model instance to the view, right? And then it will render a view. So here we are not specifying which view we want to render. So for details action method, the default view is details.cshtml. So if you want to render a different view, for example, you want to render index.cshtml with model data, then you will write return view. First argument would be index in the quotes, and the second argument would be model. So it will pass model data to the index.cshtml, which will be rendered, right? So the request will come to the controller. Controller will identify the method, parameter, call the method of a model class. It will return the model data, and then the model data is given or passed to the view, and view will be returned by the controller to the user. Okay. So this is all you know. The controllers are the components that handle user interaction, work with the model, and ultimately select a view to render. In an MVC application, the view only displays information the controller handles and responds to the user input and interaction. In the MVC pattern, the controller is the initial entry point and is responsible for selecting which model types to work with and which view to render. Based on the action method, it is selected. So why we use MVC design pattern? For separation of concern, right? So each has a different responsibility. Model will represent the data and the logic to manage the data. View will only contain the logic to display the data to the user. Controller will handle the request, work with the model and select a view and render it to the model, right? So you can see that here, these are the three components. Which components are truly independent? Here, which components out of these three are truly independent? Okay, here there are some questions. Okay, confusion. Okay, what is the action result? Fine. Okay, first of all, answer. So here, which component are you think truly independent? All three are. Okay, they all three are independent. Though it will seem that controller selects model, controller selects view through its action method. So in a way, model and view are depending on controller, right? But at a code level, if you see, right, they are truly independent. There, students were having some confusions, right? Let me see if I have. Yes, okay, fine. So truly all these three are independent, because when we see from the code perspective. In the code perspective, you see that model, view and controller each has a different task to perform. Okay, and that's why they all are independent. Now, I believe the doubt you have is in terms of execution, how things happen. Okay, and this first 15 slides that we have, right? For understanding that 15 slides, the remaining 220 slides we have in this PPT. Okay, what I gave you was a kind of a trailer. Okay, so now the remaining 220 slides are there, and I cannot explain everything of those 220 slides into just these 15 slides, right? Otherwise, there won't be need of those 220 slides. But still, let me try again how things are happening. Okay. So say user is requesting this. Okay. User is requesting this through this URL. So what user will see after the request is this. Okay. Now from where it is coming, let's see it step by step. And don't worry about the meaning of code. Okay, because we have not started writing any code so far. Right? Even you don't know that how to add controller, view and model into the project. Right? So that's a whole different thing. So user has requested this. Now that request will go to controller. Okay, so let's go to controller. Where is controller? Here is the controller. So we are now at a controller. Now controller knows that, okay, it has to execute details method, right, with the ID 1, okay, based on the URL. Now it will go to the action method. There it will need the underscore staff repository. So what is underscore staff repository? It is private, okay, private instance of iStaff repository. So it will know that, okay, from the startup, right, startup class has an idea that whenever someone is requesting iStaff repository, give the instance of staff repository or mock staff repository. That instance would be given. And from that instance, it will identify get staff. So where it will be available? In the model. So go to model. Here, yes, here we have get staff. ID is 1. So here, whatever logic you have written, right, here we have not written any logic so far. Right? So what logic we will have? Here we'll have some list. Right? And that list information will retrieve. For example, we have a staff list. So we'll have X such that X dot, or say, sorry, X such that staff list dot staff list where ID is equal to 1. Okay, so you will retrieve an instance of staff list where ID is 1. Okay, so that logic you have, and that data, what it will have, ID, name and department, that will be written Okay, that will be written from this get staff. And where it will go? It will go to the controller. It will be available here in the instance of staff, which is model. Right? Then where you are passing this model? You are passing this model into the view. Which view? Details.cshtml. So where is that view? Here it is the view. So ID value will be available over here. The name value will be available over here. And the department will be available over here. And then it will be rendered by controller to the user. And then this is how it will be displayed. Does it make sense now? Okay, here the question is controller called get staff from model. So is it not depending on model? Okay, Vishrut. Let's check where controller is calling. Controller is calling from the controller itself. You can see here get staff. Right? So it has no dependency on the model. Why? Why I can say that it has no dependency on model? I can mock it. That's why. Okay. So that's why it has no dependency. From the controller itself, you are deciding that which method of your model will be required. And which model, right? That will be determined based on the instance of staff repository. Right? And then which method you are deciding based on the instance you are specifying. Okay. Right. Here, if you have understood 1%, okay, that's really great. Okay. Because it's not like a true sense, because normally whenever you see a movie trailer, actually that's the actual movie, right? Because when you see the actual movie, you find that the trailer was better than the movie. But here that won't happen. So don't worry about it. Okay? You will find that this actual movie is better than the trailer. Okay? So now let's start. Okay? So that's why now we have a step 1. Okay, but I kept some slides earlier so that you have idea that now what we are learning, right? What we intend to do actually, right? Otherwise, if you are lost in between, right? For example, for a popcorn, then still also you can reconnect. Okay. So the first step, step 1. First of all, we need to specify, because so far in the configure service method, we don't have any configurations, right? So whether we want to use only controller, we want to only use views, or we want to use both controller and views, that we need to specify. For example, in web API, you only need controllers sometimes. Then you don't need views. So you only add services.add controllers. Okay. Earlier in 2.x, the component was use MVC. The middleware for MVC was use MVC. Here that's not the case. Here whatever you need, you add it. So services.add controllers with views. So here we are adding the component required for controller and views. In 3.x and .NET 5, add MVC is not allowed. Okay, so we will use these services, and eventually it will not be here in configure services. It will be in configure method. There we will discuss. But here we will add services.add controller with views. So basically, this line will add the required MVC services to the dependency injection container in the .NET Core. Okay, so through these now we can work with controller, model, and views. Okay, so we are adding services for controllers with views. Step 2, right? We need to configure our configure method, the request processing pipeline. So now here we have our developer exception page, we have use routing, and we have endpoint. Okay, but in the use endpoint, you can see that we are not configuring with reference to the routes. We are configuring with the default route, and we are generating a response directly. We are not returning a view from a controller, right? Okay, so in the configure method, we are adding this use routing, use endpoints. Okay, and it will simply, when the URL is root, it will simply return the hello world onto the output. right? So as you can see, it is displaying hello world. Then now we are commenting that line. What are we using? Endpoints dot map default controller root. So what is the default template? Say after your root URL, you have controller name, then you have slash, you have your action method name, slash, you have your optional parameters. That is the default template. I'm not sure whether this is visible or not, right? So here, whenever you will hover over the map default controller root, you will see the default template that you will have root URL slash controller name slash action name slash ID. For example, root URL slash staff slash details slash 1. Root URL slash student slash result slash 3. That's the template. Okay. And if you don't specify it, for example, you don't specify controller name, you don't specify action method name, then it will execute home controller's action method. That's the default. Action method index. Okay. For example, you only specify controller name staff, then the staff controller and the action method is index. Okay. So that is the method or extension method map default controller root, which will map to the default controller root, okay, based on the URL you have or user has specified. So here you can see that it is a request to a default URL, right? So why it is saying 404? Why it is saying 404? Because for this URL, it will try to find the home controller, but we have not added controller, right? So it won't find it. That's why page not found 404. The page user is requesting, it is not available. So this error starts from 4. So it means that the problem lies in client side. Okay, the page user is requesting, it is not existing. That's why 404. You should get aware of these error codes. It is very useful. Okay, specifically for error handling, right? So now we are adding this controller file, but where we are adding, you know that earlier we had this www root. Within that we have folder CSS, images, JS. We had these default pages. Now we are creating a folder controllers. It is not compulsory, right, that you should create a folder controllers and within that you should put your controller file, right? But for convention, it is really good. Okay, so we create a controllers folder. Within that we have controller file. Now what is convention? That your controller file name must end with controller. Student, student controller. Teacher, teacher controller. Home, home controller. So we have simply added a class, home controller.cs. Okay. So yes, so here we have this home controller class. Okay, and you can see the namespace. It's the same way we were used to do in .NET Framework. Our application name is staff management. So staff management dot controllers. Why controllers? Because this class is within controllers folder. Okay, so that anywhere if you want to use this controller, then what you will do using staff management dot controllers. Okay, so now this controller has an index method. So now even if you make a request to the home URL, root URL, then it will execute home controller index action method because that is the default controller root that we have specified here in the configure method of startup class. Okay. This is clear that earlier we were getting 404. Now we are getting everything fine because we have the controller and the index method as per the URL specified by the user. Okay. Okay. No questions so far. That's good. Now next. Now you can see that after map default controller roots, I'm adding one more map get method. And there what I'm writing that if the request is for root URL, right, then return the response hello world or write the response hello world to the response string. That means now when you will specify the root URL, it will display hello world. Now it will not execute the home controller action index because now you have a behavior, right, which will match with it. Okay. While if you specify only /home, so now it is saying that, okay, it is according to my controller routes, right? So it will execute the home controller's index action method. Okay, so there is a difference between this code and the code in which this last map get method is commented. So now you must be clear. Use routing will select the route, and the endpoint will use endpoint will execute it. Right? If use endpoint is selecting, then it might have just select the first one and it has executed it. But that's not what is happening. Right? Use routing is selecting the best match route found. Sorry, the best route as per the URL. Okay, and here for route we have specified. For route, it is the write hello world to the response stream. And if you have some parameter after the route template, then see if it match with your default controller route or route. Okay. I hope that you have never experienced this behavior. I have personally experienced this one time, right? It is not a good experience. I'm not sure whether you all are aware about it or not, but whenever the such animals like lizard and their category, whenever they find themselves in a threat, they can cast off their tail specifically. Okay, and that tail remain alive for a couple of minutes. Okay, fine. Okay, so now again we will start revising our concept. So again now we have model. Okay, so how much time is left? Yes, we have plenty time. Let's continue. So now you know the model. Okay, so model contains a set of classes that represent data and the logic to manage the data. Right? As we discussed with controllers, here also the model classes should not be, or it is not required to be in the models folder, but we will keep them in the models folder. Okay, all the views will be in the views folder, all the controllers will be in the controllers folder, and all the models will be in the models folder. So you can see that we have created a folder in this our application staff management models, and within that we have added a class staff. It has ID, name, email, department. Okay. So in addition to this staff class, we'll also have class that will manage our data. Okay. And for that, what we will have? Our interface iStaff repository, where it is available. So this is again a class. Earlier, if you remember, then in the staff.cs, we had this interface. Now you can see that the actual movie is better than the trailer. Okay, we are using it even in more proper manner. So here you can see that this class. So in the same class staff, you have the actual your class, your interface, and this implementation. Everything in one class. That can be done, but it's not a good design, right? So what are we doing? We have the class staff within the models folder. Similarly, we have interface. Okay, iStaff repository. So all the methods that you want your implementation to implement will be listed here in iStaff repository. Right now we want to worry about only getStaff method, which will take an ID of the staff and return the staff instance. Okay, now we need an implementation, right? So where is that implementation? It is here, mock staff repository. It's another class in the models folder. Okay, that namespace is not here part of the snapshot, but here this is a class again in the models folder. Okay, and it is a mock staff repository which implements iStaff repository. So it has to implement all the method iStaff repository has. So we need to implement getStaff. For that, what are we doing? Right? You can see in the constructor of this mock staff repository, we have a list, right, in which we have some static data for 3 staff. And the getStaff will do staff list dot first or default is such that e dot id is same as the id passed. So if the id value passed is 2, right, in the argument over here, based on the URL, then it will return this second data, second stuff. If it is 1, it will return the first data. Okay, so this is our mock implementation. Okay, so in the models folder, we have 3 classes: staff, iStaff repository, and mock staff repository, which implements iStaff repository. And currently it's mock because we are not dealing with database, actual data. We have some static list. Sorry, we have a list which has some static data. So mock staff repository provides the implementation of interface iStaff repository, right? And we are hard coding the staff data. Okay, and later we will change it with the SQL Server implementation. So what is the use of this interface and implementation abstraction? It will allow us to work with dependency injection in appropriate manner, which will be flexible for our application and easily unit testable. Right? So now the controller. So the home controller, iStaff repository private instance, we are injecting it, iStaff repository, into the controller's constructor. So it is constructor injection. Then we have an index action method. And now underscore staff repository, the instance dot get staff with the ID. Currently we are say providing say a hardbound value 1. Later on we'll have here index ID dot name. We are retrieving just one property. Okay, and we don't have any view. You can see. Fine. And then here when we comment this one, because we don't need it, right? This is an MVC application. So we will work with only map default controller route. Okay. Okay. This we'll talk about later on. I think we must have error somewhere in the next page. Yes, here. So now, so when we are making this request, we are getting this error. Why we are getting error? First of all, read the error and let me know the reason for that. So you all must have read the error. It is saying that it is unable to resolve the service type iStaff repository. Where? In the home controller. So in the home controller, when it is trying to access this underscore staff repository, and it knows that it is an instance of iStaff repository. Right? So it doesn't resolve that where this get staff method is available, where this is implemented. Right, because in the interface, if it will here it's the instance of interface. In the interface, if it will go, and there is no implementation. Right. So for this interface instance, what is the implementation instance that your application has to provide? That is missing. Right. When user requests something by URL, controller go to method. Method will access the model in its method. But from which model's method? That is remaining. And that we must specify here in configure services. I skipped many slides because now only last 1 minute is remaining. Okay. So here you need to specify in your configure services method that whenever someone requests iStaff repository, give an instance of mock staff repository. User doesn't need the instance of interface. User needs, or this application needs, an instance of implementation. But for which interface, which implementation I want to use? Later on, when you want to use SQL staff repository, just replace one word. That's it. Everything has changed. Okay. So let's stop here. In the next lecture, next week, we'll again continue from here. Okay, from model. Okay. So if you have any doubt, we can discuss about it. Fine. So thank you very much. Okay, see you again in the next week. Take care.